Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Croc 2. Welcome to my own little personal hell, the Caveman Tribe Secret Mine. Why? Because it is a fully all minecart level. I already said about pretty much all my opinions about how much I love the minecarts already, and sarcastic I don't. So having a full level of all of this in a really complex manner, collecting crystals along the way, doesn't fill me with so much joy. Because you really... the issue isn't with, like, the first instance, it's what happens because of all of the problems that minecarts have in terms of principle. They move too fast, so you have to, when you're collecting crystals, and you have different elevations, you're not going to be noticing quick enough. So, I'm already missing crystals, as you can see, so I have to do the entire loop that I just did over again in order to pick up, like, one crystal. Because by the time you're finishing this loop, you should have 48 crystals. And then you can move on to the other ones. So, like, and especially with this, there's not a lot of hazards, which is a good thing. There's, I believe, less than 10 in terms of veering right, left, and jumping. But otherwise, you're just pretty much watching Croc and you're pretty much sitting back doing nothing, which is not really the most exciting thing in the world, even though this is supposed to be fast and action-packed, and it's not at all. The Devil Dantinis on the left and right at the beginning of the stage as well really don't make sense to me either, because they're not really much of a threat in terms of being actual enemies. Now this one piece of track, not really that bad. There's no hazards, and if you're really good you can pick up every single crystal, except for those two. They're gonna be the problem for you having to do this a minimum of twice. Because they're positioned in such a way that you have to jump for one, and then presumably you're supposed to be able to land directly on the second one, but I've never been able to have my jump arc be that precise. Apparently you're able to do it, but I've never been able to. So time to go back for those again. And of course, no hazards, I just have to sit back and just watch the level pretty much play itself. And for your sake, I'm gonna speed this up. One thing I didn't really mention about the music is that it doesn't really sound that great sped up sometimes. But anyway, now that we're up to 66 crystals, we can move on to the third path. Veering to the right gives us over here. This is where, well, the level brings back hazards, but also is a little bit more annoying. You'll see by the end of the track normally. If we just keep going on the track, we should have 77 crystals. And then we head up in here, and we reach the end of the track. Okay, this is odd. The minecart also didn't break. And if you needed a heart because you view flying off, you can have it. But there's also this door here. No signage or anything saying what the door does, so, let's just go through it and see what happens. What do you mean it goes out and exits the level? Why would they do that? Did they think that because of this level they would have, like, this is what is good to do? Like, have an exit halfway through the level? And not even have the puzzle piece anywhere nearby? I really don't get it. So let's pretend that didn't happen, because after you do that, then you have to collect all of your crystals up again. And, well, we have to now do the track backwards. That's it. If things weren't even bad enough, now they're just putting, like, hot knives on my skin. The easiest thing to do is actually just kind of wipe out and start over from the beginning, because eventually, if you do the track correctly, you'll just be back at the starting point, so it's more of a shortcut than anything. Take damage to save time? But now we have all of the crystals that we are able to get on these 3 loops. So what leaves left is the last route. And this route is a bit of a doozy, because it's a one-way. All the rest of the crystals that you need to get are on this track, minus the ones at the very end. You have 1 shot to get them. So, the strategy that I employ is pausing. Doing quick pauses like that, making the crystals show up in the distance, especially because they lean from one side to the other, pausing periodically will actually help you get the crystals so you're not screwing up like I am. And finally, the minecart busts itself, and we're able to collect the rest of the crystals. 91, and you should be good to go. And I don't know why people, like, who would think that this is a good level to collect crystals on? Because there is a gong here if you need it, because otherwise, if you go down this path, the puzzle piece is down here. Man, there's a lot of things in this level that just go really I don't approve of, but after our long and arduous, well, it's actually really short, but it is arduous, we get our 3rd puzzle piece. So that is a level I'm never going to do ever again in my entire life. Man, like, so many problems I have with that level. But we have the puzzle piece, so we can move on. If you remember from when we first were exploring the caveman village, this was barred off. Now we have a gobo in front of it. Huh. You know, we really didn't get a good feel for what we are to expect in terms of this level, or this world's bosses. So, really, we have no idea what we're going to expect. Venus Fly Von-Trappe. One thing I actually didn't mention in World 2 is that there's no lead-ups to the boss, whereas in World 1 and 3, there is. It's rather difficult to judge the timing of these plants, because the window for it is really short. Like, you only get 1 swing through, so if you have to be really good at your timing. This is also a level where most of it is going to be shrouded in shadow and skeleton dandinis. Pretty much all you really need to do is avoid them, but if you're wanting to just get rid of them outright, go right ahead. They're not really a big deal, though. Except for when they hug the left and then they spawn right in the center, and sometimes they can hit you with just, well, the area that they're supposed to occupy. The level music in this area is rather interesting, though. It's kind of chill. Got a different sampling of instruments. And if you're thinking it's all doom and gloom in this area, just look up at the telescope. It's a bright, blue, sunny day in the prehistoric lands. Now, there's a balloon there. I don't want to take it at all, though. Because if I do, I just skip over this box, and then I'll have to actually just tightrope swing through these. And I still never have the timing for it. You can live, your brother can die. When you put them in shadow, the skeleton dandinis can be a little bit daunting. But the other reason that they're daunting is because the camera is awful. Did I just kind of lose myself slightly back there because the camera couldn't keep up? It's rather interesting. I was thwarted by my own draw distance. Ah. Let's get out of here. We're pretty close to the end. This last room, though, is something I really just don't get. We have 4 of these plants to get through. And you have to time this just perfectly. Like, I think, like this? And if you do it perfectly, you will not get hit by all of those plants. If you're slightly off, you'll probably get hit once. Luckily, when you're on the balloon, you don't fall off, so it's not like a do-or-die situation. Well, we have our 50 crystals. Let's see what Venus Fly Von-Trappe is. Huh. Roll rocks down, and we'll spit out the gobos. So, this giant Venus Flytrap, or giant plant that... It's pretty much like a Little Shop of Horrors kind of thing going on here, has eaten a bunch of the gobos, and we have to get them out. How do we do that? Well, we have to roll the rocks down that are on its front here, into its mouth, and then we'll spit them out. This boss actually really isn't all that difficult, really. There's only 2 real threats, because the boss doesn't move. One is this burrowing vine right here. A little bit of an annoyance, but it only is in the deep brown area of this area. So if you're not on this area at all, it can't hurt you. On the other hand, there's all of these vines everywhere. If you're really close to any of them, they'll swipe at you and you'll get hurt. They do have a rather set pattern to them, so you should be able to guess the timing and then deal with it. On top of it, there's these 2 ramps. This is what we're going to be using. Now, time for some drawbacks of this boss. And it is with the timing. It's a bit funky, because you have the pattern of the vines hitting down. You have to roll them correctly and in the right timing that the vine is hitting the ground and at that time is going over the vine, because if it's not, chances are it's just going to be hung on just polygons and not go in its mouth. Like that. I was doing that completely blind, and it spit out a gobo. We still have to save it, and once we do, then we're actually took down a peg of its health. The music for this is actually really cool, I like. And sometimes the rocks just don't want to go down the ramp. It's a bit context sensitive, because you have to be on like the deep brown area like I'm standing on. So just watch out for that. Nope. Okay. Now we're out of rocks, but luckily the boss supplies us with more. Another thing about the burrowing vine over there is that it doesn't go to this little patch of dark brown area that we have to stand on. So, not a big issue. Did I get it? Okay, good. Sometimes I can't tell because there's no real, like, reaction that the boss does. It just sits there. Ow. Now we're onto its final stretch, and this one is where the pattern gets really quick, which should be the easiest, but I'm just kind of bad. That's all I gotta say about that. And nope. Not at all. Alright, let's try from the other side. So, did you ever expect that this boss would ever show up in this world? Like, there's really no lead up to it at all. It just kind of happens, and I'm not really sure. There we go. I think that was it. Good. Everyone flee the village! The village masher is here! Just gonna say with that one cutscene, I kinda like that Bear and Dante all just sudden, like, in just kind of annoyance, he just yells, Hellfire! It's kinda silly sounding. Now, I just skipped pretty much a lot of the level right there by doing a triple jump over the box, but I'm not gonna do that. Also, Bear and Dante is pretty much Villainy grandpa at this point. I get the feeling of that. I just do. I don't get it myself. But, yes, after defeating the giant plant and saving presumably 2 gobos, because we didn't have to save the other one, if there was another one, he unleashes his evil machines against us. And there's also Dantini's and lab coats. They didn't know what to really do with the lab coats, did they? They were just kind of like, I'm wearing clothes. I don't understand. Huh. Boxes do move slightly. They jitter and go, nope, I'm not opening. But this lead up is pretty much all just platforming in tight areas, and where I pretty much just skipped the entire thing by being able to triple jump there. So if you're not worried about crystals like I am, which, better or worse, is what I do, then you can just go up here because the Village Matcher boss is right through this door. Say hello to the Village Masher, a giant robotic T-Rex with no arms. It's already bad enough that T-Rexes have very small arms. You didn't give this one any. Although it's probably a different dinosaur, because I believe there is one that just has. Oh, there is his tiny little arms. They're really tiny. Anyway, the whole gist of this boss is that the Gobo is going to be throwing buckets down from you from the outpost. What you gotta do is fill them up with water by just pretty much running into the pond here, and it'll automatically fill up with water. From here, technically that wasn't correct, because its mouth wasn't open and breathing fire. Because, well, what we're trying to do is just extinguish the fire coming out of its mouth. So time it a little better. And, oh, come on. At least I didn't waste the bucket. And there we go. Oh, whoops. Fire got me. So, this boss is relatively easy if you just stay out of its way, because it moves in random positions. It doesn't actively come after you. The other thing about the fire is that, well, the fire that it spews out will randomly spew out little tiny fires in random directions, so you might get caught by those periodically. Now, that bucket is right in the way, so I'm going to pick it up, and we just need to do that 2 more times, and we'll be good to go. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk about a really interesting fact that I came across while looking for more interesting facts. We're getting into the promotional content. I found a lot of it. But one thing about it is that back in 1998, in the UK PlayStation magazine, I don't remember which one it was. It had a Metal Gear Solid cover on it. It might be one of these 2 that I'm showing now, but I'm really not sure. It apparently had the first screenshot for Croc, and it had to do with this specific boss battle. From the screenshot, which I could not find for the life of me because Croc 2 stuff is incredibly scarce, and if it's not scarce, it's unsupported from where it was originally had. But the screenshot had Croc walking backwards from the Village Masher. Now, as you can see already, that we can't actually move backwards, which is such a weird thing because in the last game we were able to move backwards, but this is kind of their transition from going away from tank controls. There is fire everywhere. Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna hold this bucket and try to get out of the way. However, in the PC version, walking backwards is able to be enabled from the options menu. Pretty much the PC version is the best thing to play on, because 1, it's easy because you get health more frequently, and you get to walk backwards, and you also get the 180 quick turn. I have a lot more promotional stuff that I just found, so we'll look at that in due time as we come up to the later levels. I am not dying on this boss. I really don't want to. But the issue now is that I've made this boss hard. Not in that way. Come on, you little bugger, come this way, please. It's difficult to judge how far the fire spits out, but... I hit his neck, not his mouth. That's not cool. Alright, let's fill this up. The fire also doesn't seem to go away, and if it does, that would probably be because of a limitation for how much fire can be on screen. I am sucking. I just gotta say that. I'm sucking horribly. Croc 2, ladies and gentlemen. I am terrible. Be right back. Come here, you little... I have some water for you! And we've done it! I am really to the left. You can see the path to Gold Rock right over there. But we've done it! Croc, you have learned how to throw things, but your arms, now that I'm looking at them, are really noodly. You need to work on your arms. Leg day can wait. You can jump with the best of them, it's fine. Good conversation with a door. Good. And that is it! We have thwarted another one of Baron Dante's creations, and now we can move on to the next village. What do you have to say to that, King? Ginger marshmallows? Alright then. I'm doubting there's really anything that we are able to do over there, because it looks like the lava just ends out there. But that is going to be it for the Caveman Village. We just have to go back to Swamp Meat Pete, and we can head on our way to the 4th village. What kind of time period would we be going to this time? Hopefully it doesn't have a silly, arbitrary, dumb level in it. I think another thing I have to point out is that this is pretty much one of the only places where we can probably die in the village. I should just try it out just to make sure. Because I'm going to do that, and then I'll see you next time in Swap Meet Pete's shop, and we'll head to the 4th village. See you next time, everyone.